The billionaire froze. His smile disappeared. The room that had been filled with laughter and applause suddenly felt cold and dangerous. Across the grand dining hall, a tired waiter carrying a tray of coffee had just risked everything by stepping forward and whispering 4 words that could destroy his life. "Your translator is lying." For a moment, nobody moved. The billionaire stared at the waiter. The waiter stared back. And neither of them knew that this single moment would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness still exists in this world and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the Dad Chronicles for more emotional and inspiring stories. The sun shone brightly over the city that morning. The streets were busy, office towers reflected the blue sky, and life moved quickly for everyone except Rowan Mercer. At 37 years old, Rowan felt much older. Life had not been kind to him. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Tessa, to a sudden illness that had shocked everyone who knew her. One day she was laughing in their tiny apartment kitchen, and months later she was gone. Since then, Rowan had become both father and mother to his 8-year-old daughter, Hazel. Every morning started before sunrise. He prepared breakfast. He packed school lunches. He braided Hazel's hair despite never learning how before Tessa died. He walked her to school. Then he rushed to work. Most people never noticed him. He was just another waiter in a luxury hotel restaurant. A man in a white shirt carrying trays. A man who smiled at customers while hiding his own worries. Every paycheck disappeared almost immediately into rent, school expenses, groceries, and medical bills left over from his wife's treatment. Still, Rowan never complained. Because every evening, when Hazel ran into his arms with her bright smile, he remembered why he kept going. She was his entire world. One afternoon, the hotel manager gathered the staff for an announcement. A world-famous billionaire was coming. His name was Victor Hale. Known for building one of the largest technology empires in the world, Victor was respected and feared in equal measure. Business leaders chased his approval. Governments welcomed him. News channels followed his every move. The hotel would host an exclusive meeting for him and several international investors. Everything had to be perfect. The staff immediately became nervous. Security increased. The restaurant received expensive decorations. Every table was polished until it gleamed. For Rowan, it was simply another shift. Or so he thought. What most people didn't know was that before life became difficult, Rowan had studied languages at university. He had dreamed of becoming an interpreter. But after his wife became sick, he abandoned those dreams to earn money quickly. Years passed. His language skills became a forgotten part of his life. At least, that's what he believed. The day of the meeting arrived. Sunlight streamed through the enormous windows of the hotel's private dining hall. Business executives filled the room. Expensive watches sparkled. Luxury suits surrounded the massive conference table. At the center sat Victor Hale. Confident. Calm. Powerful. Beside him sat his personal translator, a polished man named Adrian Voss. Adrian was responsible for translating discussions with a group of foreign investors interested in a multi-billion-dollar partnership. Rowan moved quietly between tables serving drinks. Nobody paid attention to him. But as he approached the conference area, something caught his attention. A sentence. Then another. Then another. His heart skipped. The translator was changing the meaning. At first, Rowan thought he had misunderstood. But he listened again. The investors were expressing concerns about legal risks. The translator told Victor they were fully committed. The investors were requesting additional protections. The translator claimed they trusted the current arrangement completely. Rowan nearly dropped his tray. Something was terribly wrong. He continued serving nearby tables while listening carefully. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Adrian was deliberately altering critical information. Every translation favored one side. Every translation pushed Victor closer toward signing a disastrous agreement. Rowan's pulse raced. What was he supposed to do? He was a waiter. Nobody important. If he interrupted, security could remove him immediately. He might lose his job. And losing his job meant losing everything. Rent. Food. Hazel's future. For several minutes he tried convincing himself to stay silent. After all, this wasn't his problem. Powerful people had powerful problems. Yet the memory of Tessa suddenly returned. She had always believed honesty mattered. Even when it was difficult. Especially when it was difficult. Rowan looked toward Victor again. The billionaire seemed completely unaware. He trusted every translated word. And Rowan realized something. Sometimes staying silent is the same as helping the lie. Before fear could stop him, he walked forward. His hands trembled. His throat felt dry. Then he quietly leaned toward Victor and spoke. Your translator is lying. The room instantly became silent. Conversation stopped. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Every eye turned toward Rowan. Security guards immediately stepped closer. The hotel manager looked horrified. Adrian's face lost all color. Victor stared at Rowan. The billionaire's expression revealed nothing. Then he asked a question in the investor's native language. A language almost nobody else in the room understood. Rowan answered fluently. Several investors looked shocked. One even nodded slowly. Victor asked another question. Rowan translated perfectly. Then another. And another. Within minutes, the truth emerged. Adrian had been manipulating discussions for months. Secret payments had been arranged. Certain investors had promised him enormous sums if the deal succeeded under false terms. The fraud was massive. The financial damage could have reached billions. Security escorted Adrian from the room. The meeting ended immediately. For Rowan, however, the consequences came quickly. The hotel manager accused him of disrupting a major event. Corporate executives complained. Rules had been broken. No matter his intentions, he had stepped outside his role. 3 days later, Rowan was fired. The news crushed him. He sat alone in his apartment staring at the termination letter. Hazel found him at the kitchen table. She noticed the sadness in his eyes. Without saying much, she wrapped her small arms around him. Children often understand pain better than adults. That night Rowan lay awake wondering whether honesty had been a mistake. Weeks passed. Job applications went unanswered. Savings disappeared. Bills piled up. Fear returned. Yet Rowan never regretted telling the truth. Deep inside, he knew he would make the same choice again. Then one rainy afternoon, a black car stopped outside his apartment building. People in expensive suits stepped out. Neighbors watched from windows. Rowan opened his door cautiously. Standing there was Victor Hale. The billionaire smiled. For the first time, he looked less like a powerful executive and more like an ordinary human being. He explained what had happened after the meeting. An investigation had uncovered extensive corruption. The translator's deception had affected numerous international contracts. Because Rowan had spoken up, billions of dollars in losses had been prevented. More importantly, countless employees and investors had been protected. Victor admitted something surprising. Despite all his wealth, very few people had ever been willing to risk themselves to tell him an uncomfortable truth. Most people simply told him what he wanted to hear. But Rowan had chosen integrity over safety. That was rare. Very rare. Then Victor handed him a folder. Inside was a job offer. Not as a waiter. Not even as a translator. The position was Director of International Relations for one of Victor's global companies. The salary was more money than Rowan had ever imagined earning. His hands shook as he read the document. Tears filled his eyes. For years he had believed his dreams had died. Now, somehow, life was giving them back. Months later, everything changed. Hazel attended a better school. Their tiny apartment became a comfortable home. Financial worries disappeared. Yet Rowan remained the same humble father he had always been. Every morning he still made breakfast. Every evening he still listened to Hazel talk about her day. Success never changed what mattered most. One evening, while watching the sunset from their balcony, Hazel asked a question. She wanted to know why everything had become better. Rowan thought carefully before answering. Because the real lesson wasn't about money. It wasn't about billionaires. It wasn't even about luck. The lesson was that doing the right thing can be frightening. Sometimes it costs you everything. Sometimes it feels like nobody notices. But character is revealed in the moments when nobody guarantees a reward. And sometimes, when you least expect it, courage opens doors that fear never could. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the Dad Chronicles. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories like this to people who need them. Special request: comment below with one word that describes this story: honesty, courage, or hope. As the sky darkened and city lights began to glow below, Rowan looked at his daughter and smiled. Years earlier, he had been a struggling waiter carrying trays through crowded dining rooms. A man most people never noticed. A single father fighting silent battles every day. But in one critical moment, he chose truth over fear. And that choice changed everything. Because sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the billionaire. Sometimes it's the ordinary person brave enough to speak the truth when everyone else stays silent. And that is a kind of wealth no amount of money can ever buy. The end.